Real estate and athletes, you hear it all the time. People talking about people living rent free in another athlete's mind. Or if you're a cornerback, you got an island all to yourself. Or this is my paint if I'm playing basketball and a defender or I'm a scorer. This is my house. You see it all the time. This is my house. So athletes are very, they know real estate well. They use it a lot when talking trash, confidence, whatever you want to call it. It's part of the game. But today we're going to talk to somebody who is truly helping athletes in the real estate space. And that is Mrs. Terrolyn Nunn, your sparkly realtor. Mrs. Terrolyn Nunn is going to get on here. She's going to talk about athletes and real estate, how athletes can learn more about real estate, how she can help you who, if you're a current college student athlete who's making NIL money, how she can help you in your quest to learn more about real estate and to purchase, sell, and do other things in real estate. So I'm really excited. But the biggest reason I'm excited is because she's a platinum sponsor of the Player Development Conference, which is this weekend. Friday and Saturday is virtual. If you want to register, the link is in the show notes. Really, truly excited. Want to thank Ms. Terrolyn Nunn so much for coming alongside and being a platinum sponsor of the Beyond the Field Player Development Conference. Here is our conversation. Hello, Player Development Pod family. If you are coming to the Player Development Conference, you have opportunity to experience a great conference because of sponsors. And today I have our platinum sponsor for the Player Development Conference, Mrs. Terrolyn Nunn, your sparkly realtor. I'm so excited to have her here. Y'all, hey, we're checking it out. This is the first time on a podcast, but she's on this podcast. She's very passionate about this space, about the people who serve athletes. So I'm going to give you a round of applause. They used to teach us when we were young. Thank you so much for being here. So I know you. I've got to know you the last month, couple weeks. But our tribe. I like that. Our tribe has not got to know you. So if you can introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Terrolyn Nunn, your sparkly realtor and Houston lifesaver. I am a sports and entertainment educator and real estate advisor. I also work with families and friends and whomever, but definitely have a super passion for the sports and entertainment industry and enjoy working in that space.
Houston lifesaver. Now I'm from Houston. I'm a native Houstonian. Shout out H Town. Let's go. Let's go. I currently live in Kansas City, but I still have Houston has a big part in my heart.
Of course.
You said Houston lifesaver, and if you're not from Houston or you never visited, you would understand that, especially in that market. Can you go deeper, dive deeper into when you say Houston lifesaver? What does that mean?
So, Houston Lifesaver, I pride myself on being a resource for all things, whether it's real estate or anything related to the city, whatever it is that a player or a client needs in the city, they have the comfort levels to reach out to me and I can point them in the directions, get resources for them where it makes it a very smooth transition for them.
Nice, nice.
Live your life.
Trust me, if you, yeah. So I, being from Houston, I lived in Houston 30 years and then I moved to Kansas. That was my first time living outside of Houston. And everybody from Houston was like, man, Houston's too big. Houston's too this. And then I didn't realize it until I came back and visited family. I was like, holy
It
smokes.
really is
You
big.
just don't realize it when you grow up in it. So y'all, a Houston lifesaver. I was looking at a stat today. Houston has a higher population than I think they said Colorado and 34 of the states. So yeah, we're talking
Houston
about,
is the fourth largest city in
mhm,
the United States and the
yes,
sixth largest in North America.
it's
So
crazy.
it's huge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard we're supposed to get Chicago by 2025, but that'd be third in the list. All right. So now, why do you do what you do? You talked about you would help anybody. You're here to help anybody, friends, family, people, clients, but there's a tug towards athletes. So why do you do what you do?
So the reason I do what I do, my godson is actually in the sports field and he was raised by a single mom. I
Mhm.
myself have also been a single mom. I was a single mom to a man child for 15 years prior to getting married 3 years ago. Woohoo!
Yes.
um, but I understand the struggles and I understand that a lot of players come from single family homes, and I'm not going to say broken homes because a lot of
Right.
single family homes are definitely full homes. However, having that eye and that passion and the mama bear
Hmm.
um, feeling to things, I definitely want to be sure that these guys are protected on all fronts. Now, I've been a part of some conversations that, mm, it kind of makes you wonder, are you getting to know these players? Do you know their
Right.
families? Do you know
Right.
where they grew up? Do you know how they grew up? Are you learning who their parents are? And for me, that's very critical and important piece of the puzzle because yes, they're athletes. Yes, they may make however much money they make, but they're human first.
Right.
And they are somebody's child. They are somebody's brother. And I like to be able to pour into them to help groom them and grow them for the day that the league is no longer available. So
Right.
what does that look like? Let's
Yeah, I
plan for
think
that
planning for that. I like that. I think it's
day.
interesting. Like my side. So when I was a high school coach, I heard about. I knew I played against guys that played in the league and different things like that. But once I got into player development, I was like, you see, once they're done, you just see all these people. Like there's so
Mhm.
many decisions, and they're just looking for people to trust, people who remind them of people that they do trust. So when you say mama bear, I was just like, man, I know players love that because it can get, unfortunately, there's still stories to this day of people, seeing them as a number, as a, hey, I can get this check, a percentage, for lack of a better term, honestly. And it's sad because I believe that what you all do, in those spaces, in those player, for lack of a better word, service spaces, I think there could still be a lot of development of the person and getting to know the person while you're
Absolutely.
helping them make the best decision for themselves. So,
Absolutely. And for me, it's even beyond real estate. You
mhm,
know, I talk to different people and when I speak with parents and other players, a lot of these guys, they go from high school, all they're focused on is school and playing. And
mhm,
then they go to college, they have people that are taking care of things for them. And then you get thrown into the league. Well, now you're making NIL money in college.
right,
So how are we preparing even with that? But then you get thrown into the league and you have this large contract. And sometimes they don't even understand, how do I change a light bulb? Because they've
right.
never had to do that before. And so I've found it a very specific niche where helping to develop them as people that they can stand on their own and with them having the comfort level to be able to call me or send me a text and say, hey T, I've got XYZ happening, how do I fix this, or what do I need to do? And so a lot of times I'll get those calls and texts before mom and dad even gets the calls and texts. And
Right.
so that means the trust is being built that they're able to do that.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. I think another thing too, want to go back and touch on it. I learned this about you previously in getting to know you, and you talked a little bit about it, but I think I see a picture over your shoulder, and so you talked about being, and I don't know if that's a marriage photo or a picture with your son, but going back to that, I think what you mentioned was like you brought up that they're single parent homes, but not necessarily broken homes. And when I worked in college football, I noticed that from when I was growing up, if it was single parent, everybody was like, oh, it's broken. And now
Mhm.
you saw where you saw a full healthy home, coming to visit and different things like that. But there was always one person that player went to, and what would be an encouragement? Just me, I like developing people, and I can kind of, we'll stay on topic, but we'll jump real quick. What encouragement can you give to, um, I would say those, maybe there's a parent listening to this, maybe there's a player who came up with a single parent household, and they're just like, man, like I'm connecting with her. What advice would you give to continue to just go after it even through the tough times?
There will always be tough times, no matter who you are, no matter if you come from a single parent home or with both parents there. There will always be tough times. There will always be times that you want to give up. However, being sure to surround yourself with people that are speaking life into you, that are supporting you through the challenges. Not always when people are agreeing with everything you say,
Hmm.
that's not always good. You want people that'll hold you accountable. And then for parents, it's the same thing. We definitely have to have that support system, whether it be friends or family or our parents, whatever that may look like. Someone or some people that will be your tribe, that will be the wind under your wing, your strength
Hmm.
when you are weak, because our children depend on everything that we do. Whatever decisions that we make, it encourages them or it discourages them, and they see everything. So we have to make sure as parents that we are supporting the future of our children, and we just can't give up. And
Awesome.
there were a couple times in my single parenthood um, that I did want to give up. And I remember one weekend, and this past weekend is very critical for me. And here I'm being vulnerable here.
Hmm.
I looked at some pictures on, Google comes back and shows you
Oh
pictures
yeah.
from
Oh
four,
yeah.
5, 6 years
Oh
ago. And about 5 years ago, on Mother's Day weekend, I was at a very weak point where I just wanted to give up everything. And I literally packed a bag and went to the next city. And I texted my parents and said, "Take care of Seth. I'll be back." I didn't I didn't want any more of the responsibility. And there are times that we go through that.
yeah. Hmm.
But the person that I encountered on the other end was one of my best friends,
Hmm.
and she talked sense into my head. "Girl, you've got to get it together. Seth
Right.
deserves more." And that best friend is actually the best friend of my godson.
Yeah.
She's his mother,
Hmm.
that he actually just entered the portal from Notre Dame. So we're
Okay.
waiting to see kind of where his feet are going to land.
Right.
And so she talked life into me in that dark moment, you know, and vice versa. There's been times that I've had to talk life into her over, our friendship. But having those people that even in our darkest moments, they don't just let us give in, and they don't just go along with what we have to stay the course.
Awesome. Awesome. You know what? Since you talked about, just providing those words to people and helping people and having people strengthen you and try. Before we get to the next question, you came and I, we didn't know anybody. We didn't know each other. Excuse me. Previous to this, nobody connected us. You saw what we were doing and you wanted to come be a part of it. I think it's an important. First of all, I want to thank you once again and happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to thank you once again for supporting this because this is you've heard me on 3 or 4 calls. I'm super passionate about this space. But if you can talk about, like what like you're sponsoring this event, it's like what was the decision behind that? What was the decision process behind that?
So the decision process, because player development is not just developing them on the field. Like we
Hmm.
talk about beyond the field, after the league,
Hmm.
helping them develop as professionals, as young men and women, when there's the female side of
Hmm.
athletics. That's important to me because not a lot of people have that. And then you have these scenarios where they don't feel like they trust a person to talk to. And you don't have to be a part of a team with the player development or player engagement title to
Hmm.
help pour into these young people. And so when I saw all of the different components of Beyond the Field, and I saw your post, and I saw the people that were engaging with you on that, you know, the pieces of the puzzle that I helped to bring to the table just is a perfect marriage, and it just helps to develop them more as professionals, as investors,
Hmm.
as people in general. And so I know this was the first player development conference, but just as this is the first for you, we all have had a first. And if we
Right.
don't have people that are supporting us, that believe in the vision, that see the value, that bring some value, then we never have the opportunity to succeed or to let others grow with us. And so
No,
that
I
was
appreciate
that
that.
was my motivation.
Well, I appreciate that. Since you were vulnerable, I'll be vulnerable as well. I was kind of putting people on, one thing I do is like people will reach out to me and they'll say, hey, we need somebody in this position. Who do you know? I got people hitting me back and I kind of was sitting at a place like I was in church. I was like, hey, God, it'd be, I'm not doing things to get things back, but it would be nice to have a little support too. And then like I got the message from you. So it was needed. We were going to do it, but I just, you know how it is when you're serving people, you sow seeds and sometimes you don't get to see it. So once again, appreciate you also there. All right, now let me get back. I'll get back on track with the questions. I can hear my 10th grade teacher. I found her name, Miss LaFleur, saying, "You're loquacious. Get to the questions." Uh, so let's talk about your transition into real estate. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were in the sports entertainment. You've been in sports entertainment, but it was more from the hotel venue uh, space. Let me let you take it away.
Yeah. So my background career was in hotel management with Hilton and Marriott, and I did that for a long 13 years. I was comfortable. It was what I knew. I was great at it, and then COVID happened. And so there had to be conversations. So let's say this. COVID shut down the world 2 weeks after I got married.
Hmm.
So that was a little bit different. And so I actually vulnerable here again. I lost my job in May of
Mm-hmm.
2020 and I freaked out because I had been the single parent, of course, for 15 years and used to providing and making sure he had everything he needed. We had things we needed. And then now here I am. The whole world has shut down.
Mm-hmm.
The industry that I know doesn't doesn't really exist anymore. Nobody's traveling. Everybody's mandated to stay home. So I
Right.
didn't even know when that would even come back around. So my wonderful husband decided to, have some conversations and he brought up real estate. And real estate is not anything that I even ever considered being a part of. And when he said it, I said, "You mean selling houses?" And he was like, yeah. So as I researched and talked to different people, my first thought was, okay, it's still sales. It's
Mm-hmm.
still a people industry, building relationships. I guess I could do that. I mean, what do I have to lose at this point, right?
Right.
So I jump in, take the classes over about a 4-week period, take my test, pass the test, and I get in and I'm starting to sell houses. And I'm like, okay, this is really good. Well, then I ended up tapping into the sports and entertainment division in December of 21. Excuse me. And, kind of getting my feet wet, kind of doing some leases here and there. But then I saw the opportunity to be able to teach and give more information about investing and how do you set yourself up again for after the league. And so I started creating some different things around that, having conversations with players and parents. And I wouldn't go back to hotels right now if they couldn't pay me enough to go back and do it because
Wow.
I enjoy the education piece of it. I enjoy building the relationships with the parents, with the players, with coaches, with agents, with client services within the agencies. And it has just become a very strong piece of who I am. I've always loved sports, but now I love it even more. I'm paying attention to it even more. And so that's kind of how I came into real estate.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. COVID definitely changed a lot of things
It did.
for a lot of people, for
It did.
sure. All right. So real estate. So it's interesting talking to you about real estate. I grew up in a real estate family. My dad's a broker. My mom sold houses in the neighborhood, the development we stayed in. My sister, she's a realtor right now. And so I understand it. Just never was my, I was sports. I mean, I was sports early on, and I get it. I understand the industry to an extent. But if someone's listening to this and their only experience with real estate is like, oh yeah, you look for homes, what are some of the biggest misconceptions of real estate?
So one of the misconceptions of real estate, and I'm going to speak from the player aspect. A lot of times, they hear, "Oh, I want to get involved in real estate," and so my question is, okay, so what is it about real estate that interests you? What is it that you want to do? Oh, I want to buy and flip houses. Okay, so what does that look like? Well, I don't know. I just want to do it. Well, do we have the city picked out? Do we know the rental income? Do we know the resale values? Do we have contractors? Do we have electricians? Do we have plumbers? Do we have, well, I didn't realize it was all of that. So it's a lot of components to the buy and flip, or buy, fix and hold,
Right.
that there's a lot of different things. So understanding what those pieces of the puzzles are is very important, because there may be a point that's too much of work. That's more
Right.
work than you're looking to take on. So now what other opportunities are there? So, there are the commercial pieces where you can buy commercial property, and you don't have to run a business out of it. You can lease it out to other businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Another misconception is, well, I have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars
Mm.
to purchase. You don't necessarily have to. Um, if you're buying blocks and blocks and trying to revamp, areas, you may have to. But then there's also the option of, do I have some teammates or some player friends that have the same purpose and the same outlook? Can we get together, create an LLC, and we do this as a joint venture instead of me by myself? So that, that's another one.
So you mentioned some of the things that you gave a few of the things players can do, but let's talk about it. What are some other opportunities in real estate, or if you want to elaborate on some of the opportunities you already spoke about in real estate for players?
So, one opportunity is multifamily. There are different types of multifamily. You can buy a duplex, you can buy a fourplex, you can buy apartment complexes. That looks completely different. Now, the bigger we get, the more we have to consider management company that is potentially on site, or at least close by, that's handling all of the things. So that is a piece of the puzzle for expenses that we have to take care of. However, having those types of properties, it does create passive income where you're just seeing the funds come in and you're not really having to be hands on with that. I also mentioned commercial, as
Mm-hmm.
in purchasing some commercial property with office spaces, and you lease
Right.
those spaces out to um, to different businesses, whether it be insurance companies or attorneys or whatever that may look like. You can also buy single family homes.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good investment. Of course, depending on the city and the
Right.
areas that you're purchasing in, different purchases make more sense than others. But for players, you can always purchase a townhouse or something close to a facility that, rookies coming in, they're not wanting to buy their first year or maybe not even their second year. But then
Mm-hmm.
you're renting out your location to them. We have the connections with the teams where we're able to let them know, hey, we have XYZ available for next season. When you have rookies coming in, whoever's available, whoever needs a place to stay, this is what we have. So there's a lot of different things that's available. There's also learning the business. I mean, we
Oh.
see we see a couple of players in the league right now that have gotten their real estate license. that does not even necessarily mean you have to be an active agent going out
Right.
and show houses, because what do you want to do? The players right now, I just want to focus on playing the game. And
Right.
that's what I want you to focus on too. And so that's another part of the resources that I help with the players when they want to start learning the industry and learning the real estate side of things. You can get your license, you can be a referring agent, but
Mm.
I'm there with them throughout the processes, whatever questions they have. I'm walking them through the processes. I even have an opportunity for some free classes for real estate. So if anybody's interested in that, I would, love to have that conversation.
That
And
will be in the show notes. That will be in the show notes.
So that's, yeah, that there's a lot of opportunity within real estate, not just going out and showing houses. There's a lot more that's involved, and that's a piece of the puzzle that I offer as a resource to, to my players, their families, agents, coaches, and things like that.